We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator.
Well, Venezuela is actually north of the equator. And look, everyone saw that moment and made a huge deal about it. And to be quite frank, I don't think that's that big of a deal, okay? I mean, it was a mistake. Worse things have happened. Unfortunately, worse things did happen in the context of the Munich Security Conference, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democratic congresswoman, of course, attended. And it was kind of like her big debut on the international stage. And the whole point of the Munich Security Conference is to discuss foreign policy matters, security matters. And Cenk, before we get to some more of these highlights or lowlights, depending on how you want to view it, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I thought she said some good things and some bad things. We'll give you both. But at the end, I want to give you a line that no one's talking about that I think is actually more important than the rest. So let's tell you how she did.
So I want to be as accurate as possible because she did attend the Munich Security Conference, and then immediately after that, she attended a different event in Berlin. And so the video that you're about to watch is from that second event that she went to. It's known as TU Berlin. So here's the second half of what she had to say about Venezuela, which I think is way more problematic than her equator gaffe. So let's take a look.
Rubio and the Trump administration left Maduro's regime intact. And so even whatever moralizing they have about it, they're just as much a culprit in ignoring the election results as anybody else.
I don't think that we should support regime change wars on the left. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get that she wants to take jabs at the Trump administration. I would very much prefer not to have a longer campaign in Venezuela where the end goal is regime change. I don't think it's any of our business. I think it's up to the Venezuelan people to pursue regime change should they want it. But the idea that no, the reason why the Trump administration messed up is all they did was kidnap Maduro, but the regime remains in place.
Yeah.
I don't care whether the regime is in place or not. It's none of our business. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Look, I have a slightly different take on that, but some criticism anyway. So first, on the equator line, I couldn't agree more with you. Who cares? Or like, is that important? That's not important, right? It has no strategic issue. It's just a minor slip up. So on this, I actually think that she was saying, look, even if they want a regime change, they didn't even do regime change. So they didn't even get their stated goal. So I'm gonna be a little bit easier on her than you are on that. Now, having said that, my problem with her in that line is she's constantly trying to please someone in Washington, right? So because in Washington, they talk about like, Republicans versus Democrats, and you attack the Republicans because they didn't do the regime change that they promised, and you have to say how bad Maduro is, and that's okay. Maduro is bad, right? But like as I'm watching her, I can see her like checking off things that establishment media cares about, right? Say Maduro's bad, otherwise you're not tough enough on foreign policy. Let's talk about regime change, just like she's framing it exactly how a Democrat is supposed to frame it in Washington.
Yeah, I think the best thing anyone in government or media can do is drown out all the noise. And when I say all the noise, I mean literally everyone. The left, the right, the middle, who cares? Sit down, study the issues, study the various foreign conflicts that are currently taking place, and ask yourself, what are your values? What would you want to pursue as a leader? Because look, she's gonna deny it, and she was in a panic after these appearances, so she hit up the New York Times, and we're gonna get to that in just a minute because she wanted to defend herself. But to me, it's very obvious that this was her debut as someone who like understands foreign policy because she's positioning herself to run for president. Like she denies it, but I don't buy it. Okay.
So we'll get to her denials. I don't buy it at all. It's not to say that she's definitely going to run, but she's testing herself on whether she should run or not through going through this type of process. And her rush to called the New York Times shows you her mindset, right? So, but the reason I wanted to come back to this issue for 1 second is, guys, like all the answers are so rehearsed. That's part of the problem, right?
They did not seem rehearsed to me.
No. And I don't mean like she had the Taiwan answer ready, because she most certainly didn't. I mean, they're studied and they're robotic and they're like, I can feel the consultants in her ear. Because here's how a person who's passionate about it would answer it. Here, I'll give you an example. So what do you think went wrong in Venezuela? Here's my answer is, why the hell were we in Venezuela? What interest do we have in Venezuela? Why are we wasting our money? And then now, what are we gonna do? We're gonna rule Venezuela from abroad, from an aircraft carrier? Meanwhile, we got 2 aircraft carriers in Iran. And what happened to not starting wars? Utter disaster. We have no business in Venezuela, and we do not have the right to kidnap foreign leaders. So if you're a foreign leader here in Berlin, if our side is in charge, don't worry, we're not gonna weirdly kidnap you against international law. Donald Trump is a danger to the world because he doesn't listen to international law. So those are clear answers, and those are from the heart, instead of I have studied this and my consultant has told me to frame it just this way. And part of what she was doing with the Taiwan answer was trying to remember how she's supposed to frame it.
I don't know if I agree with you. We're gonna get to Taiwan in just a minute, but one final thing about this Venezuela portion of her appearance. Look, I do think that she seems to think that regime change would be good, because think about how she framed it. I mean, she framed it as, Maduro canceled elections. All we did was kidnap Maduro. The regime remains in place. So Trump and Rubio are just as complicit in supporting the anti-democratic moves that are being made in Venezuela. Like that was the point, the framing that she was trying to use. And by the way, her argument is the whole reason why I went to these events in Europe is because I wanted to raise awareness about the very real problem of anti-democratic parties popping up in European countries, anti-democracy movements in the United States. Like that's her argument. So I think she was probably trying to frame this in this context of rising undemocratic moves or actions by certain people.
Yeah, all right, it's time for New Year's resolutions. We all make them, but I'm not making any big flashy resolutions that are gonna crash and burn by February. My reset is much simpler. It's about giving myself a break in the kitchen. Not by eating less, don't be crazy. But let's be honest, thinking about what to eat, shopping for it, cooking it, it's a drain. And when you're drained from cooking, you can't focus on the work that matters, and that's the work right here. That's where Cook Unity comes in. It's been my way of cheating. Like I have a personal chef. I'm very fancy that way, please. But without the insane cost. Restaurant quality meals on my schedule. So I ordered a bunch of things that I loved. So we got the pepperoni naan pizza. I love pepperoni pizza, I love naan. You put it together, it's genius. Golden chicken schnitzel. It's schnitzel, but it's golden. Okay, this stuff is all so good. New Orleans shrimp and grits, they have sausage in there too. Love it. And that's my point, guys. These aren't boring and repetitive meals. These are all-star chefs, Food Network alum, and James Beard winners. Handpicking seasonal ingredients and balancing bold flavors with nutrition. Every meal is a small batch masterpiece delivered fresh, never frozen. It makes hitting wellness goals effortless because a nutritious, incredible meal is ready in minutes. No shopping, no cooking, no cleanup. You can browse by chef, by cuisine, filter macros to the gram, not a thing I would do, but you could. And it's way less than takeout or even grocery store prices. Plus their packaging is part of a reusable, eco-friendly program. You can't ask for more. Taste comfort and craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/TYT or enter code TYT before checkout to get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order by using code TYT or going to cookunity.com/TYT. In fact, she kept calling it right-wing populism, which is actually counterproductive if you ask me, because populism here in America is our ally. But she's framing it as left-wing, right-wing because she's gonna run against Republicans.
Yes.
So they're the bad guys. I don't want their allyship, even if they agree with us on anti-war. Some of them do. Not most. We're not talking about Republican politicians. We're talking about populists, right? And they don't want to be controlled by Israel, etc. But she's like, I don't want your help because I'm gonna run against you and me. Why is she constantly mentioning Marco Rubio? Because she might run against Marco Rubio. So
and she's about to try to take some jabs at Marco Rubio in the next clip. This one was bad. And I'll tell you why after we watch it. Take a look.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
Okay. Look, as much as it pains me to say it, Rubio was right, okay? So vaquero is a Spanish word, and horses and cattle were introduced to Mexico by the Spaniards, by the Spanish settlers. Look, I get the worldview of white people bad, but you gotta get out of that, and you have, like, please, you can't take the context of like race issues from the United States and somehow apply it to like foreign policy. And I just don't know why she did this.
No, I just gotta say, that was super cringe. Like, as your dad would say about who's right between Rubio and AOC on this, the most irrelevant thing I've ever heard about where cowboys and
where have all the cowboys gone?
or where have they come from? As your dad would say, who cares?
Who cares?
And because she's trying to get her, squeeze in her identity politics points.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
I know, and she's trying to squeeze in an anti-Rubio point.
Yes.
Just, what do you actually think? Can you, no, we lost her. Like, this is not how humans react. And guys, I have every incentive to say she's amazing. Our audience raised $2.5 million so that her and the other Justice Democrats could win. We should all be super proud, etc. But this is not a populist. This is a person who studied these things and is trying to massage these talking points.
Yeah, and look, you're more obsessed with labels than I've ever been, okay? But right now, I'm especially allergic to labels, so I don't care if she's a populist or not. What I care about is, what are your foreign policy prescriptions? Are you someone who is imagining a world where the United States stops intervening and engaging in all these nonsense wars? And I'm sure that if I asked her that question, she would say yes. But it doesn't really seem like these are issues that she's thought about deeply, and that's a problem. And the reason why we're talking about this, guys, is because inevitably when she runs for president, as we get closer to election day, or as the primaries are taking place, people are gonna jump down my throat if I do any legitimate, constructive criticism of what she's up to. We've got 3 years, so don't come at me, all right? Now is the time to be critical, and if she's really gonna run for president, you gotta get your act together.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.